So, good morning and welcome to another week on the Business Show here on Steel FM, and a wonderful programme in store for all the listeners this morning. First up, we've got Malcolm Davidson. Malcolm owns UK Moneyman.com, and I'm really interested in this one because once I heard that Malcolm wanted to come on the radio, I thought, I know Scunthorpe Moneyman. Is it anything to do with Scunthorpe Moneyman? And we're about to find that out. So, Malcolm Davidson, welcome to Steel FM.
Good morning, John. Thank you for having me on.
It's great to have you here, Malcolm. And obviously, we've been speaking off air, and I now know, of course, that Scunthorpe Moneyman is a precursor to UK Moneyman. But let's go back to the beginning. And you started doing what you did in 2009. So could you just tell all the listeners, what does UK Moneyman do and what brought it into existence?
Yeah, so like a lot of businesses, John, we were formed out of adversity. So I'm over 20 years as a mortgage broker, and then our previous business went by the wayside as part of the credit crunch, and we had a sort of decision to make in 2009 what to do next, and we just had a baby, my wife Amy and I. So we decided to start again, but this time keep it very nice and small. Converted our garage into an office. And the idea was just to service people with mortgage advice in the local area, and that's what we did. So we built a little website, got some business cards printed. We didn't have any customers whatsoever, and we got going. We'd had a rough time, to be honest, through the credit crunch. We'd gone over a year with no income at all, and we remortgaged our house just so we had some funds to live on, whilst we got the business up and running, and also waited for the market to recover because it was taking longer than we expected.
Thank you for that, Malcolm. It's remarkable when we look back, and obviously we work with lots of businesses, and the amount that are actually started or grown out of adversity is much higher than people would think. And also converting your garage into an office or one of the rooms in the house into an office, again, is not unusual. So you've trodden a path that's been well trodden. And yet here we are, 12 years later, you're still in existence. So I think you started in Hull with Hull Moneyman, Malcolm. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So we built this website, or my wife did, Amy, not quite knowing how to build a website. So we started off there, and any inquiries that we generated off that website, I would get in the motor car and drive and see those customers in Hull. And she learned these skills of how to grow the website sort of through the rankings on the search engines. But of course, it's a very slow burn. We didn't have any marketing budget really to spend on adverts or anything. So what we did, we built a second website, but we didn't really want to go much further than I wanted to drive. I didn't want to go down to London or something. So we just decided to keep it local. So we started to build other websites along the same lines as Hull Moneyman. So we did, as you said, Scunthorpe Moneyman, Grimsby Moneyman, as far as Lincoln, and then gradually over the years we did some more. But anyone that knew me at that time will tell you that last thing Malcolm was ever going to do was grow another business. He was going to be quite happy being at home with his wife and his two kids. And generate an income, keeping his expenses low. So again, probably in line with other people that you've interviewed on the show, it's a little bit of an accident that we've ended up where we are today.
And it's really interesting. You look at what we do to start businesses, and like many people before you, that you do whatever it takes. And in the early days, when we have very little money, we do whatever we can to get ourselves out there in front of people. I think it's fascinating, stroke incredible, that your wife, and I know your wife's called Amy, that Amy would build a website from scratch with two children under 2 on her knee and having to learn the skill set to make that happen. But it's what we do as small business owners.
Well, if you met her, you would never underestimate her. She's absolutely phenomenal.
And going on from there, of course, which was 2009, and you start to build up, and I understand that in the early days you would make appointments where you could drive out and see people and use your skill set. And Hull Moneyman became Scunthorpe Moneyman. It became Grimsby Moneyman and Lincoln Moneyman because these were still places that you could drive to. But I guess probably the biggest significant change in your sector, and the one thing we must say as well, of course, Malcolm, is that everything you do at UK Moneyman is mortgage related. There are lots of financial products out there, but your skill and expertise has been the last quarter of a century doing nothing other than mortgages, of course.
That really does make me sound old now, John.
That's clearly not the intention, Malcolm, clearly not the intention. But you look at that amount of knowledge and expertise, and it's always been in mortgages. It just sets you apart from other people in this industry.
Well, that's what people are buying into at the end of the day, and you only get that experience over time, and gradually, as you 5 years, 10 years into a job, no one really expects to end up in financial services, John. You don't leave school dreaming of being a mortgage advisor. No one does. So everyone who works in my industry lapses into it somehow. But I suppose the difference with me was once I'd ended up doing this job, I wanted to be the best at it, and I made it my business to know everything about the subject kind of inside out. And then you'd like to think that knowledge kind of radiates out when customers are speaking to you, because as the years progress, you're dealing with situations that you've dealt with time and time again, and that gives people some confidence. Not that we can help every customer that we speak to, but at least I'm familiar with the types of situations. If we can't help now, it's putting people on that track to improve the credit score or how to help them save towards that deposit that will help them buy a property in the future.
Completely understand that. And for all the listeners here this morning on Steel FM, I think the one thing we should definitely cover off, Malcolm, is why would I go to a broker instead of a bank, where traditionally in years past, you'd always go to your bank first. But I think in 2014, and I'll let you tell all the listeners around the change in regulations, but following the credit crunch of late 2008 and into 2009, it took them a while to reflect and learn on that. But a massive change in 2014. Do you want to share that with all the listeners this morning, Malcolm?
Yeah, so the regulator wanted to look into what went so disastrously wrong with the mortgage market in the States and in the UK during that time. So it took them a few years to carry out what they call the mortgage market review. And there are several things that they found. One of the things that they did, and I think that was pivotal to Amy and I, was they banned what's called non-advised sales. So prior to 2014, you could take advice from someone like myself, a mortgage broker who would shop around the market and get you the best deal, or take advice from someone in a bank. But also, there's an alternative route in the banks only where you could do a non-advised sale. So go into the branch, speak to someone in the branch, but they weren't necessarily an advisor. And it was confusing for the consumer as to whether or not they had advice. So the regulator, in my opinion, rightly banned that practice. So that led us to a big decision in our business, because we had these websites built. We'd expanded slightly even further afield then into Leeds, Doncaster, so anywhere within kind of an hour or so drive. And then all of a sudden, John, the phone started ringing a lot more, because fewer people wanted to go into banks. The banks couldn't service this demand, and we had a decision to make. Do we stick to the plan, which was to carry on working from home? We'd started making a profit by 2014. Or do we try and service some of this additional demand? And what would surprise some of the listeners, John, is that my job, whilst it's in financial services, does deal a lot with emotions. So you people buying homes, being rejected for a mortgage, and need some assistance. So it was making me feel bad that I couldn't service these customers for 2, 3, or 4 weeks because I was so busy. So we had a big decision here. What would we do next? Would we stick to the plan, stay working out of the garage, or would I break my promise to all my mates and friends and family in 2009 and actually look to grow something to service this additional demand?
And that's a quandary as for any business owner that starts to grow, because we never know when that opportunity is going to arise, but arise, it does. And yeah, it's decision time. What do we do? And some people choose to stay where they are. Some people choose that actually, no, the opportunity's there. Let's see what we can do to take advantage of it. Except in this case, it wasn't taking advantage. It was taking advantage of the opportunity. Absolutely, yes, it was. But there were lots of people then that realised then that the banks couldn't service them. Hence the explosion in mortgage brokers. And do mortgage brokers provide a great service in the marketplace? The answer to that is absolutely yes, because you can't get this service at the traditional finance houses. So yeah, what happened with Moneyman after 2014?
Well, and on that point, the market's gone from 50% of people using brokers to 80%. So what we did, we had a contact a chap called John Hassel, and he was a business coach that also worked, luckily for us, in our specific sector. So we had a chat with John, and he said, Malcolm, what's the business model like? And I said, well, you're looking at it. I've been on the road all day. I've spoken to 8 customers, and I've got another 2 to see on my way back. And he said, look, Malcolm, you're going to kill yourself. I said, I won't. I love my job. I love helping all these people. But I also knew that we had spark of an idea, something that we could grow. And John said, there's a scheme available. So this was the time of the coalition government, the Tories and Lib Dems. And the scheme was called the Growth Accelerator. Okay. And we qualified for this scheme. I think it was even European funds. So, and what we got was £5,000, and we could use that. And it was for businesses that were looking to grow. So what we did, we took that £5,000 and we engaged with John on a 6-month program to build a model of how we can grow the business and try and service this demand. And I often look back on that, John, because I wonder if we hadn't had that £5,000 injection, whether we would have been brave enough to employ John for that 6 months, because that was a massive investment for us at the time, and I'm not sure we even had the money to be able to do it. So we took the plunge and we did it, and we built this model of kind of how we would grow, how many staff we would need, how many leads we would need to generate, and how much profit we would need to make. And we had John for a 6-month period through, I think it was the first 6 months of 2015. We started to take staff on, and we still engage John once a month to this day.
Brilliant. And all the listeners will know that, we head up our own business coaching practice here in North Lincolnshire. And, our outlook is that clearly every business should have a coach. So thank you for that endorsement for what business coaches do. But it was the right person in the right place at the right time, which then allowed you to grow. And I think it's fascinating that business brokers came on the back of regulatory change, which was done for the benefit of the consumer. And, Malcolm and Moneyman were just in the right place at the right time also to be able to actually start to expand your business, which is fabulous.
Well, people have asked me, John, why we have a business coach, because I'm very experienced in what I do. And Amy and I have... I think what it is with a business coach, it stops you making bad mistakes sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And we go back to the Growth Accelerator scheme that was put there. Absolutely the right reasons it was put in by the UK government. And I know a lot of businesses reached out and actually took advantage of that. And it's great to hear that several years on, the person that helped you out at that time is still the person that's helping you to this day. Because I forget now how many people Moneyman employs, but I'm sure you're about to tell the listeners how many people are working with you.
Well, we've got 40 people now, sort of 15 advisors. So you think of how much tax and national insurance and corp tax that's generated over the last 6 years. And I think that was a good return on the £5,000 investment.
Absolutely, a superb return on that investment. And so just jumping back to that, now a company of 40 staff, you must be immensely proud of that, 15 advisors. And from something that was pretty centric to, North and South Bank here in Lincolnshire, you do cover the whole of the UK, but with that amount of advisors, we're not driving clearly to see everybody these days. So a lot of it must be done electronically. The boom in electronic communication during the last 18, 19 months has been incredible, of course. But you must reach every part of the UK, Malcolm.
Yeah. So we had advisors plonked in the end in different parts of the country. So we had an advisor down in Nottingham, a lady over in Liverpool, a chap in Manchester. So we had people sort of scattered around, but we lost a bit of control, John, when that was happening. So what we did in 2018 was we started a telephone advice service, probably against my better judgment, because I've always thought this was a face-to-face job. So we took on 2 telephone advisors, and I said, look, prove me wrong, prove that this can be done over the phone, because I'm not sure it can. So during the end of 2018 and through 2019, we started to see more and more people be comfortable conducting their mortgages over the phone. So interestingly, when we got to the end of 2019, just pre-pandemic, we'd gone from doing 0% of our transactions over the phone all the way up to 60%. So also the majority of our customers were opting for this telephone service because it was quicker, much more efficient for them. And they weren't having to, I guess, sort the house, get the kids ready, they could do it at their own convenience. So again, a little bit of good fortune for us, that when the coronavirus came around, we'd already made this switch from face-to-face to non-face-to-face advice.
Pioneers. UK Moneyman, first mortgages, first at pioneering what needs to do electronically. That's fantastic. And as you said earlier, it's a emotive subject, buying a house, and being able to provide that service where people can secure the house stroke home they're really looking forward to or they really want must be an amazing feeling at times, Malcolm.
Well, it is, and just to hold the hand through the process as well, because things go wrong, and it's just having someone there at the end of the phone on the video call now that you can check in with and say, look, don't worry, we're going to help you through this. And of course, a fantastic feeling of satisfaction when the customer finally gets the keys and moves in and leaves you a nice review online.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And as you know, Malcolm, at the end of every show, we always play a song, which is your choice. So for the listeners of Steel FM this morning, what song have you chosen for everybody to listen to today?
All my friends would expect me to pick anything by the Smiths or Morrissey because I'm a big fan. But actually, I'm going to pick a song that was I was playing in my head a lot around that time, beginning of 2009, when we were just about to get going. And it's Brand New Start by Paul Weller.
Brand New Start by Paul Weller. What a great